Yep. So this is Amy Martin. She works here in the Arts Center. She just has a few things she wants to share with us before we introduce Ina. Excellent. Welcome. My name is Amy. Or sometimes I go by Amy Sue, or most of the time I go by Amy Sue. The Arts Center is open 3 days a week. We are a member driven organization. We're a makerspace. So people come in here and they make art. We opened up about a year ago. We also do some limited exhibits. The exhibit in here right now is the AP art class at East Aurora High School. And this is what's in here for Art Walk, which is tomorrow. And I'm assuming most people know about Art Walk. We try to teach as many classes as we can in here. And about the last 4 months, we've had 30 classes held in the Art Center. And we are always looking for. So anybody who's interested in possibly teaching the Art Center, you could talk to me, or you could talk to Alan with you over at the campus. We do have one class that's coming up. Summer tends to sort of fall off because they're all working on their own shows and they're preparing for the fall and whatnot. And this is a class that's going to be on Friday, June 2nd. It's a painting workshop. All of our classes are listed on our website, and we try to have handouts and I have lists of all the classes that are upcoming. I don't have a list of upcoming classes because they are either all full or we don't have any classes going on. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions about the Art Center, about how we operate or why we're here or anything whatsoever? We're glad you're going to meet over tonight.
It was classes listed in that newsletter comes out.
Usually, yeah, the ones that Amanda sent that newsletter, yes, they usually are listed there. That list is not always the most up-to-date list, but the website is the website.
Yeah, the dose program in there and whiskey night, and it was in that one.
I'm not sure because I get multiple things from Amanda. The previous newsletter.
Okay.
But
I have mine. I double check.
There's that. We also, another thing, we also have 3 drop-in community building groups that we're working on right now. And on Tuesday mornings, we have a sketchbook group. So people bring their sketchbook, usually have a prompt, and we all sit around and sketch together. On Thursdays, we have a writing group. Tonight, the only writer in our writing group is over there. Her name is Virginia. And on Saturday, group. And those people who drop in are working on a variety of sewing projects or knitting or crocheting, and it's just a way for people who enjoy similar arts to get together, especially people who are maybe slightly newer to.
Regarding the writing group, you give people prompts, or how does it work?
We do give people prompts. So typically the way the writing group is set up is at the beginning, we all share and bring something to share. And it can be something that somebody else has written or something that you've written. And then we have a prompt, and then we have a 10-minute period where people just do their own free writing and written work. They have an opportunity to share that, either something that came up after the prompt or something that they brought of their own that they want some feedback on. It's pretty loose, but it also does have some structure. So that's about it. So nice to meet you all. I'm glad you're here. I will be over there doing quiet work, I hope.
Get quiet, then you can talk with her later.
Absolutely.
So my name is Robin Yates. Welcome to our Arts and Craftsmen meeting for tonight. It's very exciting ways. Some work looks more two-dimensional. She also looks like that I didn't know she was a sculptor, so we're looking forward to hearing her share her work.
Hi.
Okay, so basically, I learned to sew when I was, young, did the home ec thing. And I got into quilting when my son turned 5. So that was back in 1997. And I took an adult ed course. At the time, we were living in Akron, in New York. Not and I got the bug. And then I started quilting. The more I quilted, I sort of went from traditional quilting to sort of some landscapes. And then I kind of like got into the embellishments. I'm known as the embellishing queen in our quilt groups. I like to use different things, and such as buttons and yarns, beads, and things like that. As you can see some of the little pieces here. I love adapting. I'm going to call it things like card making, and then adapting it to my quilting, and then doing some cards using my work as well. What you see here is I'm going to call a variety of small, because every artist, nobody wants to pay hundreds of dollars all the time, and they want something small. So I also do small. So I dabble in needle felting, quilting, knitting, crochet. I've done beaded jewelry and that type of thing. So my plan tonight is to show you my journey from where I started and what I've developed into. So this is my first quilt. This is the quilt that I did in the class. I've got points that have been cut off. I've got 2 different size blocks and one in the top that are just zero word. So this has got a combination of hand stitching and machine stitching on it. Then I thought, well, maybe I'll try landscape. So this is actually my first landscape that I've done. And so I used a variety of different types of fabric, colors. It was different. Yeah.
Did you use the pattern for that one? You created that.
Yeah. I did a tiny embroidered deer. Then I kept quilting, and back in 2005, I combined what they call applique and piecing, and this one best would show at the Amherst Museum Quilt Guild. And so for me, that was an absolute thrill. I walked in and there's this ribbon on that says, best would show, and I'm like, what does that mean? I really didn't know much. I was like, quite surprised. So then I started getting into more abstract colors, types of piecing. This one actually is a reversible quilt. So in the way that it's made is, okay, so quilting, you have 3 layers. You have a backing, a batting, and you have your top layer. But this one being reversible, I quilted a block. Okay, so I did all the top stitching to get all the 3 layers come together. Then I cut it, added sashing, and then use sashing to put the blocks together. If you have a domestic machine, you have what they call a small throat space, and so you can't put big quilting to do a lot of free motion quilting in that area. What's your name?
So I am a quilter, and I have a decision.
Come on.
Jump from stitches and stitch to free motion, and you do struggle with that.
Oh, terribly. Okay, people do notice. Notice.
So how long have you worked with stitch position before you did free motion?
Oh, several years.
Okay, good.
So the show winner, the best of show, I had professional quilters.
Okay.
So that was very helpful because it makes the quilt. Then I went through these, and I like to take things. This was a pillow, and so using that same technique that I used on there, cutting the curve, I used that with the pillow. I cut it apart. I use different fabrics, I use different textured yarns on here that I call couch. So you're Incorporated. So you can see I kind of went from traditional to a little different. On this particular piece, I started painting on fabric. The background fabric, or what they call teak fabric, I created the background, and when I created the background, I said, well, that looks like underwater. So then I pushed down yarns that I like. I had fish on it, and there's some fish on here. I did weeding on here. I created some steaming on here. The way you machine from heating it up is you. And so that helps create that. Also gives it's some thickness, stiffness. I'm using home deck fabrics, and I actually painted on some of these. I've incorporated, I deconstructed the flowers, and I sewed these on. There's seashells. So I'm just kind of going a lot.
Guys, how long has been the first?
This is 2009. So of using, this is using an oil paint pen, a metallic oil paint pen. And so I'm creating my own, call it batik, because when you draw with the oil paint pen on the fabric, it creates a barrier so that when I was using the Dynaflow paints in here, it did not seep into the background because it goes back in there. Then I again, you can tell these are hand coached down, and I added some beads down here as well. Then I thought, well, I got into dolls, and so I did some polymer clay work. So the polymer clay pad, it's ribbon wrapped wire for the arms and the legs. Yes, I run batting around the wire. It's actually pretty so I can take it off if I want to do. I've done a lot of hand embroidery on here, hand stitching with beads, hand stitching with beads on the bottom. This is 2011. Probably been fish thing for a while. This is deconstructed screen printing, and it's not like your traditional deconstructed screen printing. We had created a freezer paper stencil, ironed it onto fabric, and then painted on. And this is actually the wrong side of the fabric piece that I had done. I liked it better. So again, I'm adding sequins and beads, touching down yarns. And I added felt as my batting, and then it's all raw edge. Typically with the quilt, you bind or paste your edges. This is raw. This is 2014. On this particular piece, you can tell I started incorporating hardware. This is from a drawer. There's dryer sheets on here. I incorporated burlap. I've got beads, hand embroidery, catching down yarns again, and then I've also catched down yarns around the outside edge. I like texture. Okay, going back a couple of years, this is from 2011. This is taking a placemat. The hair here in the center is toilet paper that I put onto a rubber stamp. I belong to a couple of fiber groups, and this is one of our classes. And after the toilet paper dries on the rubber stamp, you can take it off, and then I painted it. The background, I forgot what I did, sorry. But it's got burlap, it's got a home deck fabric, got beads, it's got sequins. So I'm not your traditional quilter anymore. I turn into a fiber artist, media person. This little piece, the pairs are actually a paper napkin. There is a product called 606 spray. It's a permanent spray adhesive. And when you spray it on the front and the back, it's a single layer, the uppermost layer. Watery resistant. It turns out to either by hand or machine. Here I've got hand embroidery, I've got the sequins, I've got the beads. Then I tried silk. This is silk paper, the same as this small piece here. And so I've incorporated on a background some sort of linen. Kind of pick up fabric every now and then, don't always know what it is. Did a lot of free motion quilting on here. And embroidery. Just creating different textures. And texture, this is from that I put like a Mod Podge on and then painted over it. Again, hardware on here. These ears are Joanne. I've made Dorset buttons and lace. And again, I did the yarn around the outside. In one of the magazines, I found an article talking about taking a scrap of fabric and then extending it where, for example, the flower's been cut off here, extending it out with a different colored thread, so you're making your picture bigger. And if you look at the back, you can really see where the stitching is on here. Okay. So my free motion has improved.
Ina, do you need your pieces ever?
Yes, this is copies in a bottle number 2 because I have another version of it.
Is that machine or
This machine, yeah, most of my quilting is done by machine. There's hand stitching, like hand embroidery on a lot of it, but typically I like to do things like bachelors. This is called Faded Memories. I've used cheesecloth. I printed on. I actually printed on the cheesecloth. And the background here is batting. I hand stitched. I've added buttons. It was photo transfer. What I had done. So now I'm, trying different techniques again. I do like leaves. So I've got another piece. This is from 2020. I call it Gilded Leaves because I've taken the leaf, I've actually painted it, then used dimensional gold paint to help hold it down. I've got large buttons, beads, and then hand embroidery on here. Okay, this is from 2020 as well. This one I call which way is up? It's number 2 because the same because I never know. So I don't have any hanging mechanism on here because I don't know which way to go. So my project is standing for my leaving. But so back in, again, 2020, there's a quilter, her name is Cindy Nita, and she takes vintage textiles and creates different types of pieces with them. So this involves a lot of what they call free motion stitching. I've done a lot of hand beading. I've had to hand stitch some of the lace edges down here. In the back, I've added a lace pocket for hanging. And in keeping with the same type of thing, I've used vintage hankies and created this small piece. And again, vintage hankies on the top of this one. Got a lot of commercial quilting. And this is home deck sample that I got from somebody, but it worked. When I make something, it's because it makes me happy. I don't like doing commission work. I just like doing what I like. I took a class from another Canadian artist. Her name is Mary Powell. This is done using cheesecloth. And so you create it's a copyright-free image. And so I created the cheesecloth. You put it on and then when it's all dry, you peel it off the plastic and sew it down onto your fabric. So this is back in 2021. And I've done a whole series of all kinds of things. This was a piece started. There's a fiber group belonged to in Arcade along with Karen Fink, and she taught us putting fusible web on the back of the fabrics. Fusible web is that you can iron it down and it sticks. It's like a glue. And so we were cutting different shapes and things and creating different pieces. And this one is called an octopus's playground. This is 2021 now. Try to keep these in sort of like chronological order. This is bleached discharge on black fabric. And then overprinting. Might be double wrap that I use. And again, hand stitching, adding beads. And this one I actually faced as opposed to putting a binding on it. So then I like to, as I said, I like to combine different techniques. The background on this piece make it was I coached down yarns on the tree trunk, these two tree trunks here. I needle felted the fox and the rabbit and then appliqued them on separately.
Yeah, that's what it's.
So again, that's pretty much clothing. Practice, practice, practice.
How do you say that word? Yeah, is it neon sculpted? What is it?
Needle felting. Needle felting. So this is needle felting where you're taking low roving or there's roving, there's squeeze, okay, little bats. So this little piece also is needle felted. So what I basically did with the rabbit and the fox was I felted it onto a fabric. I think I used felt on that, cut the shape out, and then appliqued it onto my piece, as opposed to actually needle felting right onto the cotton fabric. These needles are barbed and they will sort of damage the fabric. So I did take a true deconstructed printing class from a woman named Kurt Grabowski. And that's the background fabric here. That's deconstructed screen printing was put your paint onto the screen, you let it dry, and you go back with the no, when you it's a product. It's wet, and then it's gone. I stored it. This is got what we call nature printing, is when you're putting paint onto weeds and then pressing it down on the fabric, and then I went back and stitched over it. Added some other free motion type bushes, added hand stitching on it. This is cheesecloth down at the bottom. Beads on here. And so there's a couple more pieces, same style, except what I did on these was that I created some birds out of scrap pieces of wool yardage and appliqued them down on here. But again, it's using the niche printing and things like that. I love free classes online. And you painted red with a little bit of black, black with a little bit of red, one with a lot of paint on it, and then for 2022. This is here again, how to class and using paint pen on fabric. So you're painting on fabrics with either pencil or what they call it. You add either water to it to activate it, or you can use clear aloe, or you can use another product called GAC 900. GAC 900. So it's like a fabric.
Dry on.
Yes. Or you can wet the fabric and then, depending on the look that you want and how much you want it to spread. So there's a little bit of applique, a little bit of hand embroidery. I actually needle felted the sun onto this one because it's a small area.
Question,
Of course.
was that white taken?
Yes.
So, Tina, is that like watercolor, but with fabric?
It's kind of neat. It's different.
The ink pencils actually have ink in them, and so they're much more permanent. We have the heat that. Yeah. You use energy and you want water, aloe, or the gas, but then you have to keep selling. Then it's permanent, but it's much more intense than watercolor.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, you can draw either on dry or you can either do it on wet.
Yeah, it's better than watercolor pencils because the colors are more vibrant. This is actually a whole cloth piece, and again, it's using the ink pen pencil. If you're a sewer, if I say the word thread jump is when you cut all the threads off after you finish sewing something and I collect them. And so I cut down the thread jump, create the grasses there. And I have different varieties pictures, things like that. But this is what they call a whole cloth because it really is just one piece of fabric that I painted on, but it looks like apple. This particular piece, this is using a variety of different home deck fabrics. It's got some machine stitching, primarily hand stitching, hand coaching, and so the tree is actually couched on yarns. It's one yarn that had all these multiple colors in it, which I thought was so cool. I created a small piece in the middle, thinking, oh, I'll just make it into a card or a brooch. And then I said, nah, it's talking to me still. So I put it on another background piece. I added some cheesecloth on here, dyed cheesecloth, and then it kept talking to me, so I stuck it on another piece of fabric. And this background fabric here is an old linen tablecloth. So I like to incorporate, I upcycle. Okay, so this piece is taking a script and just scribbling on fabric. So I created a piece, colored background, did my thing on it, cut it up, did some just left she selected done. We cut that black cover is like probably stitching on it. This background on this piece is faux marbling. It's taking shaving cream and then putting alcohol inks on it, putting your fabric down, lifting it off, and then picking up all the colors. And someone is one of the cool groups I belong to. This woman loves to give me stuff and say, "Oh, do something with this." So she's given me these tiny fabrics, and so I created this little piece. An Australian artist, her name is Helen Godden, and we created this paper fabric. But what it is you're taking two pieces of, like, it's called staplers. Dots on one side, you put the dots up, you put your paper on top, put the other piece, the glue dots down, and you iron, and so on. And so this is where I was testing it. I had new colored crayons and some watercolor pencils, so I didn't really use Inktense on this piece, but I did use Lumiere paints to get lips on it. So the background is entirely paper. Drew design on the top layer of the stabilizer, colored it in, then stitched. And of course, I have to embellish. So more yarns and pearls, some seashells, and things like that. So this is the first piece that I've done. Here's another, I think the other one. Yeah. This is the second piece that I did, because the first one I thought was like Neanderthal man. That's much better because cheesecloth isn't as heavy. And again, using the cheesecloth technique, this piece, the background was from a panel, it's only part of the panel. And so I thought it kind of looked like an Arctic scene, so I created the polar bear out of the cheesecloth, and then I had this fringe, which I sewed on the bottom because I thought, and I call this piece climate change birds because that's they're saying, like, of course, nobody always wants to spend big bucks on things. They have to create film covers. I actually did some embroidery on real leaves, which was a lot of fun. And then, as I said, I do little cards again. You can try drawing flowers and creating little cards. I've got the needle felting. I do a lot of pins. So this is just a small sampling. So I do a lot of hand embroidery. Some of these are needle felted. The goddesses are using what I use my little snippets of fabric that I have left over to create a piece of fabric, cut it out, and then create those. This little guy is like a little sleepy house sitting in. These are all my leftover yarns from when I'm knitting and things. So I save up order. I'm also a bookaholic. My husband. So this is the type of thing that I do. Does anybody have any questions? When do you sleep? Oh, remember, this is from like several years. I'm retired now. So this is like when I was working when COVID first hit, and so I was laid off for 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I have all these partially finished projects and I finished them all off. And then I get this call, Nina, can you please come back? Like, we're not officially open, but we're doing like telephone sales. So I'm like, oh. So I was back to work. I went, and then a couple of years ago, I said, that's it. I'm like over 65, I'm retired. So, and since then, I do this every day. I'm the type of person that if I don't do even something little, I get kind of antsy. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I like to work on something little every day. So, okay. Any other questions?
Thanks for sharing all of this.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to come and touch and feel, and then if you have any other questions, then I'd be happy to try to answer. Yeah.